thanks everyone so much for joining this afternoon. And for, as I just mentioned, for taking a part of your lunch hour to be with us today to learn more about community solar, which we believe is a really great opportunity for West Virginia. And so we're excited to dive in this afternoon and talk to you all about it. My name is Leah Barbor, and I'm the State Director with Solar United Neighbors here in West Virginia. I'm also joined this afternoon by my colleague Morgan Byrne, who's our Community Engagement Specialist, and she'll be here helping us out and providing support, so we are grateful. We're also joined by Matt Pennington of Downstream Strategies, and as I said, we're looking forward to sharing more about the benefits of community solar and really discussing some findings of a recently conducted impact report that details these benefits a little bit more. And so our mission is to make that happen here, and so partly through facilitating resources like this webinar, and then we'll also let you all know about how to stay involved and next steps that we'll be taking in the future. So first, I'd like to set the stage a little bit. Oh, my slides. There we go. Excuse me. There we are. And give a little bit of a brief overview about what community solar programs are, how they work, and also who benefits. And I'm sure that most of us are well acquainted with the wonderful world of Zoom by now, but just in the best interest of some quick housekeeping for those who may not be as familiar, we would request that you please connect to your audio and also submit your questions in the chat. So you can please submit them to everyone and not just the panelists. So that way, if other folks have the same questions as you, everybody will be able to see them. And also the webinar is being recorded. And so we will be sure to share a link to the recording with everybody who RSVP'd, and also post this webinar on our YouTube channel for quick reference in the future as well. And so without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit about SUN and also the coalition called West Virginians for Energy Freedom, who we're launching this issue education campaign in close cooperation with. And so Solar United Neighbors is a 501c3 membership-based nonprofit. We have programming in 12 states and also in DC. And we're on a mission to expand solar access here in West Virginia through our work organizing around solar policy issues like community solar. We also focus on consumer advocacy as well, and also community outreach. And we run local co-ops programs as well. And so in short, we help people go solar, join together, and also fight for their energy rights. And West Virginians for Energy Freedom is a coalition of neighbors, organizations, businesses, and also public officials who believe that all West Virginians should have the freedom to invest in and also benefit from locally owned renewable energy and efficiency technologies. And so with the theme of benefiting from locally owned renewable energy in mind, when it comes to accessing cheaper renewable energy here in West Virginia, our choices are actually quite limited. And so at present, we can either choose to be on the grid, purchasing ever more expensive electricity from our local electric utilities. We could be grid tied with an on-site solar array, either on your roof or a ground-mounted system on your property. Or you also have the option to be off-grid with an on-site solar array. But if you rent your home or have a shaded property, your choices are even more limited. And so while legislation enacted in recent years is helping to increase access to solar power generation here in West Virginia, we have an opportunity here before us as community solar to really provide a third option to the current either or policies that we're faced with right now. And so as it stands, we have a utility solar bill that allows for folks to sign up for electricity provided by their electric utility. The thing with this is that it's more expensive than non-solar resource electricity, and it's even more expensive than solar electricity than that would be provided in a true community solar program. And we're going to get into that a little bit more as we further discuss community solar this afternoon. But we also have a bill that allows people to install solar at no upfront cost to themselves through power purchase agreements. And so this third-party ownership allows people to save money immediately on their electric bills with no upfront cost, which is really great. But however, this policy does not help people who rent their homes or who have shaded roofs or unsuitable properties for solar. And so really at present, without community solar, it's really just homeowners with good roofs and good credit who are able to directly benefit from solar now, and really nobody else can. And many folks want to. A lot of people want to go solar now and they can't. So for example, some of you may be joining us today who have known about Solar United Neighbors and the local solar co-ops that I was just talking about that we organize around. And when you sign up for the co-op, you get a free roof review. And some folks find out that they're disqualified from these local solar co-ops and or are told by an installer outside of a co-op that their property is also unsuitable for solar. And this can be due to physical considerations like shading, or maybe the way that your roof is oriented. You may live in an apartment, or maybe you rent. Also, roofs that are in poor condition and are in need of replacement in the next few years are sometimes a large cost barrier to people installing solar on their roofs and prevent them from going solar at that time. And so, we really do our best at Sun to help folks figure this out through our solar co-ops. But we do find a lot of people who can't go solar because of poor site conditions or financial obstacles as well. And community solar really offers the benefits of solar to people who can't go solar in their place of residence, which is what I've mostly been talking about. But this also applies to businesses as well. And community solar provides people who face these obstacles with a way to reduce their energy bills and in effect save money and stabilize their monthly budgets and also live their values. And so as we've kind of discussed, rooftop solar won't work for everyone. The National Renewable Energy Lab and the Department of Energy co-issued a report that had a major finding that 48% of households and businesses across the nation are unable to go solar directly. And so, what is the alternative? Why are we here this afternoon? I'm here with great news. There is an alternative, but currently this alternative is not enabled here in West Virginia. But the premise behind community solar began with the simple idea that people shouldn't have to put a solar panel on their roof to benefit from the electricity that it generates. And this idea is in the process of really dramatically changing the way that many people get their electricity. And so what is community solar? A way to think about it is community shared solar or solar gardens. So this array is installed somewhere other than on your property, but someplace nearby, usually within the same utility service area. And the way that this works, we'll dive into that in the next slide, but the solar energy is virtually credited to your electric bill. And so the way that it works is in the name. It is community solar or shared solar. So not for a single home or business, and likewise, also not green power credits either. And so it is shared local power that looks like this. So as you can see here, you can see the array in the middle and all of this kind of satellite subscriber folks who are benefiting from this shared local power. And so these projects enable individuals, businesses, organizations, municipalities, nonprofits, et cetera, anybody to purchase or subscribe to a share in this project. And so, as I mentioned earlier, if you subscribe or join to a community solar project, you will receive a credit on your electric bill each month for the energy in kilowatt hours that's produced by your share. And so this is proportional. It's not an all or nothing. Subscribers would have the opportunity to subscribe to as much or as little of their annual electric consumption that they wanted to offset. And so on or offsite arrays are going to generate energy for multiple consumers, as shown here through this model. And practically speaking, as I mentioned earlier, the model tends to work best when the subscriber to the energy is within the same utility area as the community solar array as well. And community solar has a myriad benefits. Some here, these are just a few, but they're the big ones. It provides cheaper electricity now and or in the future to stabilize your monthly budget expenditures. It really champions energy equity and inclusion, so fair access to solar for everyone, and also encourages wider participation in our clean energy future. So folks get to really choose where their energy comes from, and it's community-based power as well. And so this slide shows how it works. As I mentioned before, the customers will buy energy from the subscriber organization, and the subscriber organization is going to own and operate the array. And the utility will work with the subscriber organization to apply these bill credits to the subscriber and to the subscriber's electricity bill, proportional to the amount that you purchase in your share. And so here are a few additional benefits as well. Another thing that Matt's going to speak to a little bit later is that, we really stand to create some good local jobs and promote local wealth generation as well. We talked about empowering and engaging communities. Everybody can get involved. We can have a stake in this clean energy future that the transition is actively happening. And also, promoting choice and freedom, and also additional competition within our energy market as well, and access for all. And so in this example here, we're going to kind of talk about subscriber benefits and also like landowner or host benefits as well. So this is just an example. In this case, the subscriber would be the folks who are living in a more urban area, and so they would have direct access to the solar energy economy if they were not able to install solar where they live. And so this clean renewable energy and the savings for low to moderate income households would be available to people in those homes who couldn't previously participate. And then also in this example, the rural benefits are associated with somebody who was hosting the site or who was the landowner. And we'll hear more about this as well in the future. But these projects allow additional revenues for landholders. And so steady revenue can support farming on the rest of the land, and also keep farming businesses viable and allow folks to diversify their incomes. Which is really important here in West Virginia. I think like 90-something% of our farms are small family-owned farms. And so having that diversified income is definitely a boon to our agricultural fabric here in West Virginia. And there are really two main types of shared solar, but lots of variations on these depending on the state and how the program is implemented. And so right now in West Virginia, as I mentioned earlier, we do have the option to subscribe to a utility scale solar project. But the thing about these, as I mentioned, is that, there are customers, ratepayers subscribing to these projects are actually being asked to pay more for renewable energy. And so we don't really consider this true community solar. People in the community don't really have a say in the way that these programs go and designing them. They don't really have a lot of control over what these projects look like. And so community solar should generate savings for participants when done right. When it's a good community solar program, that's definitely something that we want to see. And in the case of the utility-owned model, that's not actively happening here in West Virginia right now. And then the other kind is third-party or competitive market. Anyone can create a project under this model and sell energy or ownership to the public. So here, individuals and businesses can have more control over what a project looks like, where it's located, who benefits, and also how. And so, for example, these projects could be owned by a nonprofit, by a municipality, or be privately owned by you, for example, if you had the space to do so. And yeah, so as I've just alluded to, not all community solar is created equal. And so good community solar should really offer tangible economic benefits to subscribers in the way of saving people money. It should also be customer friendly, so no unnecessary obstacles, hidden charges, or confusing rules, and allow for folks to be able to move within their utility territory and keep their subscriptions as well, ideally. And also, you know, these benefits to the community in the ways of job creation, low income participation, the landowner benefits that we spoke about earlier, and then also added grid resilience. And right now, currently there are 22 states and DC that have operational community solar programs. And so these policies are a combination of different mandated levels of community solar deployment or incentives for deployment that are represented here on this map. But this is a national growing trend. And as of Q3 in 2022, there were 5.1 gigawatts of community solar that have been installed. And just to kind of like put that into perspective, 1 gigawatt of produced energy is enough to power about 750,000 homes. So multiply that by 5, and there are a lot of folks who are able to benefit from these community solar programs. And we're really hoping that through our advocacy and through the work that we're doing here and with your help, that West Virginia will be able to enable these programs and realize these benefits as well. And so to switch gears a little bit, we'll hear from Matt. Downstream Strategies has been a leader in providing expert analysis and reports about potential and predicted impacts of renewable energy development for a number of years. And so I'm happy to pass the mic and hear a little bit more in depth about how West Virginia will be supported by these programs.
Excellent. Thank you, Leah. My name is Matt Pennington. I'm a senior planner with Downstream Strategies and was part of a team that put this report together. I believe good legislation is created through research and input from experts. And Downstream Strategies are those experts. We've been leaders in analyzing different renewable energy opportunities, not only in West Virginia, but all over the Appalachian region for several decades now. And we've been really pleased to be a part of researching community solar in the Mountain State. And so I said, when we do thorough research, we don't just kind of create this this out of thin air. We look at other examples that other states, as Leah said, this is a growing trend nationally. So we look at other states within the nation and see what's working well for them. We look at their policies, their legislation, how they roll these programs out to start to get a feel for how this could work in West Virginia. After looking at a number of those states that Leah had up there earlier, Downstream Strategies decided that New York, Minnesota, and North Carolina's community solar policies were best fit for the Mountain State. So if we could go up real quick, Leah, one slide up there. So as it says here, we identified those states, and our next step was to make the economic case for West Virginia. So based on the proposed legislation of about 200 megawatts of community solar capping out, we took that number and combined it with some of the other states' policies and legislation to see what the impact, the economic modeling impacts would be in West Virginia, and making that economic case for jobs. You can go to the next slide, as well as for community economic impact, and then what the bottom line is to businesses and homeowners who rent or have shaded properties. You know, what would they save in their pockets every month based on their discounted utility rates? So as you can see that we'll have, we have a lot of solar jobs in and around the Appalachian regions through our various states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia. We're all seeing growth. We're all seeing growth in that employment sector. But you see the donut hole of West Virginia, where we're failing to keep pace with our neighboring states who have interest in this. So the market is robust. There is interest in and around the region. And if this community solar policy went in, we would see an additional 1,600 jobs that would be added to the economy here in West Virginia, and then contributing a total of about $386 million annually into the economy here in the Mountain State. So a very fruitful initiative could be taken on by the adoption of this policy. Now, when it comes down to, homeowners and business owners that rent or have leases and aren't able to install those panels on their property, we would see about a 1 to 2 cent savings per kilowatt hour based on the average. Like I said, we looked at other states, and based on the average savings that these community solar participants and subscribers were seeing, and multiplied over that 200 megawatts of electricity, we were looking at about $2.6 to $5.3 million a year left in the pockets of West Virginians that they can go and spend locally at their local businesses and support their local economies instead of paying it out to more expensive options through utility solar programs or traditional electric providers. So the economic case is strong here. But we didn't stop there. We wanted to look at the market case for it. And understanding that West Virginia is a rural area, it doesn't necessarily strike a strong arena for investors to come in and say, well, we want to do these projects, we want to do the installations, but what does the market look like for West Virginia, one of the lower populated states in the nation? What can we do to actually get subscribers on board to participate? So we took a look at that and looked at some of the biggest employment sectors, next slide, in the state of West Virginia to say, you can use it in solar developers can use what we call anchor subscribers, and they take up roughly about 40% of the total energy generated at a community solar project. And if you look at the largest employment sectors in the state of West Virginia, being healthcare, education, and retail, there's considerable interest and considerable impact, and they would benefit directly from these community solar projects by the electrical savings and additional add-on leases that they would generate by using the space maybe at the rooftop of a hospital or the rooftop of a large elementary school or high school gymnasium. Those solar developers would pay monthly or annually lease rates directly to those host sites. And the report goes into some of one, particularly the Red Wing School District in Minnesota, was bringing in several $1 million just on their large campus where a developer installed a large array that helped make ends meet at a small school district that usually are struggling financially across the nation. So not only would they have the ability to bring on these large anchors to buy up 40% of the subscribed energy, those large employers have employees and families that have homes that could potentially fulfill the other 60% of the energy and subscribe. So the solar developer and entrepreneur would immediately have a large splash in the anchor, but the ability to recruit subscribers on that one-on-one individual basis, which can be hard and can be a deterrent or an obstacle for some developers to enter into the market, especially in rural communities. It's where am I going to go and find and sell this new subscriber base to a county that might only have 25, 30,000 people in it, which is standard in West Virginia. Well, if you look at these local large employers, you have a good amount of subscriber pool to draw from. Next slide, please. So we also saw one other really great host that could benefit greatly from installing community solar in the state of West Virginia. And that was on the agricultural side. Still seeing that West Virginia is a rural state. We have a lot of farmland, a good percentage of it compared to other states. But the neat thing is that community solar provides really great co-benefits to local producers. 96%, I believe, in the Mountain State are all family-owned farms, where they could essentially have a contract again with the developer and continue to bring and supplement farm income based on those leases. Installed in farms, you see on the right, the dairy and cattle industry. These cattle, they can still graze in certain areas if installed properly. And they can use these panels for shading during hot summer days and continuing, promoting herd health throughout the farm. On the left, you see a $261 million poultry industry that is the largest in the state of West Virginia in terms of livestock and agricultural. The poultry, which is turkeys and chickens and egg-laying birds, is most profitable and arguably very competitive throughout the nation, not just largest in the state, but it's about, I think, in the top 20 of the nation. The average poultry house is about 20,000 square feet, which is about a half acre to you or me. So these large arrays can be put on the top of poultry houses, adding additional on-farm income to family-owned farms in the Mountain State. So tremendous opportunity there for the agricultural industry to get into and supplement and support their agricultural and productive activities. Next slide, please. So thank you, Leah. That was a brief overview of the findings of community solar in West Virginia and how and where it can benefit some of our great mountaineers out there.
Thank you so much, Matt. And yeah, so here on this slide, you'll see the cover page of the report that Matt was just detailing the findings from. And in a following slide, we'll link the resources. So for any of you who want to delve a little bit further into any of those respective topics that we just provided an overview into, you're welcome to do so. And the next thing that we wanted to speak about is that we do have an opportunity to really engage and benefit from these programs here in West Virginia. But the first thing that we need to do is pass enabling legislation at the legislature. And so last year, House Bill 4551 was introduced toward the tail end of the legislature and will essentially be reintroduced in the 2022 legislative session and will likely receive a new bill number. So 4561 is a way to, I think, speak about it now if you want to take action and talk to your legislators. One of our main initiatives at present is to get the Joint Standing Energy Committee to hear it as an item or add it as an item on their interim session. And so that will enable them to have an opportunity to learn more about community solar and discuss some of these benefits and also become more familiar with the report as well. And so, a few things that we can do is continue talking to each other, talking to our legislators, and then also maintaining contact. And so Morgan is going to launch a poll that kind of tries to get a sense of if anybody's feeling motivated to stay involved. Please do indicate here and we will follow up accordingly. And so we'll give another moment or two for folks to respond to this poll.
I'd just like to give a little bit more information about the Solar Action Team. So the Solar Action Team is the first option or on this volunteer poll. And this group, we are just forming now, and we'll be meeting on a monthly basis over Zoom for the most part. There's the opportunity in the future for us to have in-person gatherings, of course, but it's a statewide group. So we'll just be focusing on taking action together and leading community members as well to take action in support of community solar. We'll be focusing on legislative outreach and public education, mostly focused on community solar at this time. So I will drop in the chat the Join the Solar Action Team link if you are interested in joining or learning more. We are meeting at the end of October, so October 26th, I believe, on a Wednesday at noon. So I hope to see you there as a follow-up to this conversation. Thank you all for filling out this poll. If you have any questions, keep writing them in the chat.
Thanks, Morgan. And then here on this page, you'll find some resources. So as I mentioned, we are working in close cooperation with West Virginians for Energy Freedom. And so on that website that's linked here, you'll find a petition, the impact report, and then also some fact sheets and other talking points. And then also Solar United Neighbors has a very well-developed and in-depth guide to community solar.